Okay, so for this video, I'm going to talk about the debate of one course of development versus many courses of development. And I am going to argue that I believe humans follow many courses of development more so than just having one sort of universal course. And studying this question is important for the field of developmental science because learning how individuals grow up in really unique contexts, I think ultimately how that impacts their development and changes them. I think it's important to really understand that in order to understand humans in general and also consider how we're going to approach future research. Um, so, looking at cognitive and language development, when you look at the milestone of categorization, for example, toddlers definitely follow multiple courses of development based on the variations in language. So, for example, we know that Korean toddlers, their language omits object names from sentences, so they tend to develop object sorting skills later than English speaking toddlers. And kind of along those same lines, Korean speaking toddlers have a specific word in Korean which stands for the concept of tight fit, and we don't have that a specific word for that in English. So English speaking toddlers develop that concept later than Korean toddlers. So again, you can see there are different courses of development depending on which culture you're raised in as far as that kind of categorization. Additionally, make-believe play, another milestone. We know that children in cultures where the parents value make-believe play as developmentally important or beneficial activity, those kids show an earlier understanding of being able to distinguish pretend acts from real acts, and they also show more elaborate play. So again, it's clear that when kids are raised and have certain experience there, they follow a different course than children who don't. As for social and emotional development, the first milestone I want to talk about is emotional self-regulation. When babies are learning to regulate their emotions for different experiences, we know that if their caregivers fail to regulate stressful experiences for them, for the ones who are too young to do it for themselves, research shows that the brain structures may actually develop improperly, which will cause them to be unable to do this for themselves eventually. And that often leads to humans who become anxious and reactive people. Also, infants born with a particular genotype combined with that type of maladaptive parenting will often end up acting out with defiant aggressive behavior. So again, here you can see how that genetic component and the parent's temperament can change the course of how that individual develops. Another milestone along those lines is attachment security. And we know that German infants show more avoidant attachment than American babies. And the thought is that this is because German parents value independence more, so they try to raise their babies and children to be less clingy. And contrarily to that, the Dogon people's infants don't show any avoidant attachment to their mothers, even though they have other people caring for them, like grandmothers and things like that. But their mothers in that culture are readily available for them at all times. So again, depending on that culture, which culture you're raised in and what those cultures value, can change the course of development for the child. As far as physical and motor development, if you look at crawling, a milestone that happens between 5 and 11 months of age, this is heavily impacted by a child's environment. So, for example, infants who have stairs in their homes will learn to crawl upstairs faster than infants that don't have stairs. And they also will learn to perfect the backward descent skills faster than those who don't have stairs, or they'll develop it differently. So, again, depending on the environment that child is in, that experience can explain the way they develop differently. Another physical or motor development would be like grasping or reaching. So this occurs between 2 and 7 months, and we know in cultures where mothers carry their infants, in slings most of the days. The infants will learn to grasp at the mother's necklaces so that they can kind of steady themselves while they're nursing from their mothers and their mothers are moving around. And then that also leads to them being able to reach earlier. And these experiences are directly responsible for how and when they reach their milestones for reaching and grasping. So, overall, these examples show how infants and toddlers do have many courses of development, depending on both their experiences and their genetics. And development for babies doesn't appear to be universal because their unique experiences growing up, as well as traits that they've inherited from their parents, will change the course of development as they grow up. And we see these differences throughout parts of the world and other cultures and how the children ultimately develop. Thanks.